What did Red Sox prospect Nick Yorke do during the offseason to help him regain his form of what made him the minor league player of the year just 2 years ago?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I want to welcome you back into Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. I'm your host, Jake Ignaszewski. And in today's episode, we are joined by Red Sox top prospect Nick Yorke. And him and I talk about what he did during the offseason to really help him find a way to regain his form, which helped him win the minor league player of the year back in 2021. We also talk about what goes into his mental game, his hobbies outside of the game of baseball. But before we get into my conversation with Nick Yorke, I wanted to sort of talk about what his journey has been so far throughout the Red Sox farm system for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about. So Nick Yorke is the number 5 prospect in the Red Sox farm system right now. And back in 2021, he was the first round pick for the Red Sox, was drafted 17th overall, and really took the whole minors by storm in the year of 2021 by really finding a way to acclimate to pro ball very quickly. In single A for the Salem Red Sox, hit 323 with 10 home runs, and then got promoted very quickly to the Greenville Drive and didn't skip a step whatsoever. Ended up hitting 333 with 4 home runs and was one of the most exciting Red Sox prospects throughout the 2021 season. And like I said before, that ultimately helped him be named the minor league player of the year during that season. But then in 2022, with all the high expectations that Yorke had going into that season, his production really dipped off, and he ended up, ultimately playing with the Greenville Drive for a second year in a row, and batted 231 with 11 home runs, 45 RBIs, and sort of went away from what made him so successful, which was getting on base, which was that high average. He's a second baseman, so he was never profiled as a guy who's going to hit for massive power, but he was always somebody who could consistently get on base time after time, and went from in 2021 getting 121 hits with only 69 strikeouts to in 2022 striking out 94 times and only getting 78 hits. And so speaking with him throughout our conversation, it was really interesting, learning about what he did during the offseason to figure out what didn't go right and how he really utilized the Arizona Fall League during the 2022 season to really implement some of those changes through his stance and his swing to help him figure out a way to regain that form and have a little bit of a quicker approach or beginning to his swing to get to the ball quicker. And I feel like, especially now that he's in Portland, now he's going against much higher competition, so this is only going to help his development out even more. But speaking about the Arizona Fall League, after he struggled in 2022, ended up playing in that league and really found a way to regain that form of getting on base consistently. Hit 342 with 2 home runs and 18 RBIs, and also led the AFL in doubles with 7. And that just makes me think, especially if he does get the chance to play up in Boston, man, is he going to pepper balls off of that monster and really utilize that left field wall to help him get even more doubles? Because, he's already doing it right now without that advantage of that, 34, 35-foot wall in left field at Fenway Park. And then he was also one of 2 Red Sox prospects that was named as an AFL Fall Star. So, sort of like the All-Stars, he was one of the best players in that entire league. So it was nice to see, a glimpse of what we saw in 2021 out of Nick Yorke in his AFL play. And now so far in Portland, as I'm recording this on Thursday, he's batting 250 with 0 home runs and 2 RBIs thus far. But he does have 13 walks over 14 strikeouts. So it is nice to see him having good plate patience, the ability to get on base. And then, we've also seen him, even though, he has more strikeouts right now than he does hits. He has 13 hits and 14 strikeouts. It's still good to see him be able to get those free passes and not, do what he sort of did last year, which was strike out more than he got on base. And so I'm very excited to see how his production continues to go throughout his time in Double A, and how his new swing and stance will really help him be able to get back to that form in 2021, and continue to help him flourish more as a top prospect in this Red Sox system. Because I mean, for most of you who know that, keep close tabs on the team, the Sox need middle infielders right now. They need a second baseman. Who knows if Trevor Story is going to be the long-term second baseman or the long-term shortstop, but Nick Yorke is definitely one of those guys that could be slated as the future at second base for this team. And right now only 21 years old, but I'm super excited to see his progression in his development. We could potentially see him up in the majors in 2 to 3 years or so. Probably he'll have one more season in Portland, and then who knows how quickly the Red Sox will move him up to Worcester. But I think what I learned from Yorke throughout this conversation is he just has a huge passion for the game of baseball, and for wanting to help the Red Sox ultimately win games. And it's really cool to be able to hear all these different prospects and their thoughts on him over these last few years, of how hard of a work ethic he has, and how focused and hard on himself he is as well. And then now getting the opportunity to be able to hear it from the person himself. And I think you are really gonna like this conversation and learn a lot from it, from a guy who hasn't really been, in a lot of media coverage thus far throughout his career. And now, before we get into my conversation with Nick Yorke, I just want to take a second to talk to you about GameTime. So whether you're looking for tickets for the Red Sox, the Portland Sea Dogs, concerts, theater, wherever, whatever, GameTime is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets with no stress and getting killer deals at the last minute. No joke. I have used GameTime for years, finding ways to get super cheap tickets. If it's a few hours before a Red Sox game or a concert, GameTime is honestly the best place to get some of those flash deals and last minute tickets. And it's super easy to find tickets and be able to see also where your seat view as well. GameTime is one of the only ticket places where you can buy them and be able to see what you're actually paying for through a seat view, without because especially at Fenway with all the obstructed views, there's a lot of times where you get tickets in the grandstand and you're like, oh, these are pretty cheap, but then there's a pole right in front of you. And so with GameTime, you can actually see if there's a pole in front of you at Fenway or wherever other place that you go, and be able to know what you're actually investing your money in. And GameTime also has the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection, etc. And one of the biggest things that I love about GameTime is how accessible it is, how easy it is to get some of these flash deals and killer prices that you can't get on really any other ticket purchasing app. So snag your tickets without the stress with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. No joke, I've used it. Great deal. Terms may apply. And again, create an account and redeem your code Locked On MLB for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, without further ado, my conversation with Nick Yorke. I'm here with Red Sox infield prospect Nick Yorke. So, Nick, how have you been enjoying playing for Portland this far this season?
It's been awesome. The wins aside, the atmosphere has been great, and it's something you look forward to coming to the ballpark every day to play for.
And for you, ever since you got drafted in the first round, you had a lot of noise surrounding your name, being a top prospect for the Red Sox. And I'm always curious how guys sort of block out that pressure and not allow it to, deter them or feel pressure when they're up at the plate or on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. The way I look at it is it's baseball. It's the same thing I was doing when I was 12 playing in summer ball, travel ball. Like, to me, this is summer ball. We get to play baseball. We don't have to go to school, and I just get to go and play baseball with my friends. So that definitely helps.
For you, playing in the Arizona Fall League last year, I read that you also made some swing adjustments during that time. And it was curious, throughout your off-season prep and also so far during your up-at-bats this season, how has that new swing change really felt?
It feels great. I wouldn't say it was a swing change per se. It was more of starting position change. I just start with my hands a tad bit higher. Swing-wise, I'm not really doing much different other than just trying to put myself in a better position by starting with my hands up. But it's felt great. I'm just glad to be with the Portland Sea Dogs. I'm happy to be here, and we're winning a lot of baseball games, so hopefully we can continue to do that.
And that's really all that matters at the end of the day, just stacking up the dubs.
Yeah.
And then, outside of, changing that initial before swing aspect of it, was there anything during the offseason that you really tried to work on?
No, just, keep grinding at my body, just keep working out, try to get as strong and as fast as possible. I had the fall league under my belt with that new stance change, so I kind of had some momentum going into the offseason with that, so I just kept grinding at that and, getting the timing down with all that.
And I also read that you worked with Mitch Haniger throughout the offseason. Now, I'm curious, from a guy who's sort of in a veteran sort of aspect in the majors, played for a few years or so, what lessons did you really learn from working with him?
Yeah, to me it was just how in tune with his body he is. If we're hitting at 10 o'clock, he's there at 8:30, making sure he's getting all of his stuff in so his body feels right and his body's moving the right way before he goes to hit. So I would just say, just the body preparation of it all. At the end of the day, hitting's hitting, so everyone has their own philosophy in their own way of doing it. But what I took away from him was just, how in tune with his body is. It's really impressive.
That makes sense. And then, for you, prior to, when you begin the game, is there anything that you do mentally to really get yourself in the zone?
Not really. As soon as you cross the lines, it's go time. So, at the end of the day, it's survival. He's the pitcher on the mound, he's trying to get me out, and I'm trying to keep my job by hitting a double off him. So, it's just you as soon as you cross that line, it's got to be go time no matter what. But, I don't really do anything preparation-wise for it. I'm not superstitious or anything like that, At the end of the day, he's throwing the ball to me, and I'm hitting it. So that's what it is.
Now, is there any quote or any type of music that really pumps you up or gets you in the zone, ready to dominate at the plate or on the field?
No, I just would probably listen to rap music maybe when I'm lifting or something beforehand. But to be honest, as soon as I get in that box, that's when my flip switch is ready to lock in.
That makes sense. And, the one aspect that I'm always curious about is the mental aspect of the game for some guys. And, especially, when you have to overcome adversity throughout the season, obviously there's ups and downs of the failures and the wins. But when you're going through one of those stretches, is there anything that you do mentally to really help yourself stay confident?
For me, it's just, being with my teammates. Outside of the field, you're with these guys 140 days. So, to not just have them as teammates but as friends, just to lean on afterwards, get your mind off baseball. I go bowling with Koss a lot. I go golfing with some of the guys a lot. Just kind of just decompress, get away from the field, get away from baseball a little bit. But at the end of the day, the group of guys that we have here, the togetherness of it all, you kind of want to come in every day, even if you go 0 for 5 or whatever it is. You want to come in and just work at it with them. Everyone on the team's so helpful. Whether it be a coach or a player, everyone's there for each other, so it's great.
Yeah, I always say to Christian, I haven't heard of a baseball player outside of Mookie Betts playing or doing bowling as one of his side hobbies. And you mentioned Cavadas. I know he golfs a little bit as well. But outside of bowling, golfing, what is some of your hobbies outside of the game?
I'm from SoCal, so I love going to the beach. But usually on a day off when I'm getting away from the field, it's usually golfing or bowling or some sort of physical activity outside. Play a little video games here and there, but I'm not serious like some of these other guys are. So, I just love being outdoors. I love being with people, so I just try to do that as much as possible.
One thing, speaking with a lot of different guys, one thing that I always hear is, I'm Nick Yorke, or I'm a human being outside of the game. The game doesn't define who I am. So who is Nick Yorke outside of being a baseball player?
I would like to think I'm just fun, and I like to do anything and everything, I'm very adventurous, I feel, and I like trying new things. So I would say just a fun, adventurous person.
And then, speaking about those adventures, is there any non-baseball activity that you really enjoy doing during the off season?
Boogie boarding. I love boogie boarding and body surfing. I go on hikes with my parents sometimes, but I just love the beach. I love golfing. Those are my main two.
And then last thing for you, there's a lot of Red Sox fans that are excited for Nick Yorke to arrive in Boston, play at Fenway Park on a daily basis. And for those people who are excited for that to ultimately happen, what message would you have for those fans?
Just let's win as many baseball games as we can. At the end of the day, it's all you want to do is win. I hate losing. I think I hate losing more than I love winning, so I just want to win. I don't want to lose. So that's all.
I love it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you taking time,
No
man.
worries. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that you did enjoy my conversation with Nick Yorke and got a little bit more of insight on who he is as a person, what's really helped him become successful throughout his pro career thus far. But before we, end this episode and wrap it up, I just want to take a second to talk to you about Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. And so for you, I don't know if you've ever dreamed of becoming a baseball GM. I know I have. I've always tried to put myself in perspective of, Theo Epstein or a Chaim Bloom, even when I'm talking about on this podcast. But when you play this game, you really feel like you're a part of it. You really feel like you're building a franchise and building for a dynasty, to win championships over and over again. And you really have the power to be able to do that with this app. You hire the right coaches and staff, you manage the team's finances, you also scout and draft the players. And one of the biggest things that I think comes with any franchise that's a little bit underrated is being able to manage through those difficult personalities. The leader on the team, the cancer in the clubhouse, and being able to make sure that there's good chemistry there while also finding ways to manage the injuries. We all know, especially with how the Red Sox are dealing with things right now, it's never easy to be able to still have quality depth behind some of those injuries or when they come up, and being able to fill in for those guys with quality pieces to help you still be able to stack up the W's. And I think that is one of the funnest parts about this game, is going through all the ups and downs of a season while still being able to have fun with it and still be able to find ways to win. And so you also navigate your franchise through free agency as well and continue to build through the future. And I think one of the coolest parts about this game as well is you don't have to have internet to play it. You can play it offline, on the go, wherever you want, when you want. So Locked On Red Sox listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up on the App Store. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. Now, we greatly appreciate you tuning into this episode. And as always, we appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. And now for my everydayers. Next week on the show, Lauren is going to be back, and her and I are going to be breaking down what has happened over the weekend in the Guardians series. And if you want to tune in for all the updates and news regarding the Boston Red Sox 5 days a week, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Red Sox over on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also follow Locked On Red Sox over on Twitter to get updates regarding the podcast, different guests that we're having. I have so many more prospect interviews in the vault that I'm very excited to drop. So make sure to follow us over there. It's LO_Red Sox. Also follow myself. It's at Jake Iggy. And also my co-host Lauren is La 3 Laws, Lauren with 4 R's. But as always, we greatly appreciate everybody tuning into the Locked On Red Sox podcast. We hope that everybody has a great rest of your day. And we'll end this episode how we always end it. Keep the faith, stay positive, and let's go Sox. Peace.